Welcome to Rollin with Mike, podcast on wheels. My name is Mike Wilson, aka Rollin Mike, your host. I am a writer, speaker, and disability coach, and author of a book titled Return from the Edge. 31 years ago, I was injured in a life-altering motor vehicle accident that left me as a quadriplegic. This is my story. First of all, I want to welcome you to the Rollin with Mike podcast on wheels show. I'm glad that you could be present with your son Maddox here. And actually, you're going to be my first individual that I've actually entertained and had on my show. So welcome to that first episode.
Well, Maddox and I are happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Today, I'm here today with Denny Locascio. Not only is he the owner of Impact Fitness in Lutz, Florida, he's also the head trainer. Someone who I've came to know over the last almost four and a half, 5 years. Today, I just wanted to sit down with him, discuss a few things about the gym that he owns, that I attend, that I work out, that I've tried to be as faithful as I can. Within a few misses here and there, but overall, excited to have you here. I want to start from the beginning with you. When you were growing up, at what age did you decide your career path or what you may want to do with your life?
You know, growing up, Mike, I've always been around sports. My family, my uncles, my dad, my grandfather, everyone's always followed or at least played in sports. I've always been around it, and then not only being around it, but within high school, being around friends, being around everyone else always worked out. So I really didn't know how to combine the two, other than I love sports, I love working out. And that got me to USF for college, and I was playing rugby, and a friend of mine on the team, he's like, hey, if this is what you're interested in, he's like, you may want to start considering strength and conditioning. So he really introduced me to a career path. Like, hey, you might want to study this. You might want to start interviewing these people. Hey, you might want to check out this internship, which that kind of started that process of going at the exercise science program at USF, doing the strength and conditioning intern at USF, and getting down that career path of like, okay, here's how this should go. If this is the career you want to be, if you want to be around sports and athletes and working out, boom, this is what you need to start studying. So that just kind of put me down the rabbit hole, down that spiral of heading towards that career path.
After attending USF, where did you begin your employment?
Sure. So my last semester in the exercise science program, you have to do a full-time internship. That's 30 hours a week you're interning. And at that point, I'd already interned for 4 years at the USF Strength and Conditioning Department. So I was looking for something different to do. And there's a private facility in Wesley Chapel that they had an opening for an intern. I had a friend already there. He said, hey, you learn from two guys there that are just phenomenal guys, Ted and Scott. You learn some incredible things from these two guys. So I took an internship there at this private facility that had general population and some professional athletes. Once that internship got finished, they hired me on as a full-time trainer. I ended up working there for 4 years, taking on just starting as a trainer, kind of working my way up to eventually running the sports performance part of that facility. And as it came to the end, that facility wanted more focus on high-end individuals, private training. And at that time, myself and my original business partner, Biko, we really wanted to focus more on helping kids in the community, especially high school kids, on sports performance, speed agility, strength training. And that's when we started, 11 years ago, we started Impact, really to help young kids in the community, give them a place to train and increase their performance outside of the skill work.
When you were at Wesley Chapel at this place doing your initial internship, not only what did you learn from training there, but how did you apply that to your life moving forward?
One of the biggest things taken away from my time over there is working with one of the gentlemen. His name was Scott, And he was just this lifelong learner, lifelong reader. And that really kind of woke me back up. Because as a young kid, I loved to read, but I kind of got away from it once I got kind of got into high school, college. I'd read here and there, but not like diving into at least, one or two books a week, just boom,
Yeah.
pouring into the reading. And I got that back. And Scott really introduced me to that. I got that back going. And I mean, I couldn't set a book down for a couple of years. And I read hundreds of books. And that really got me back going onto that lifelong learning path.
Yeah.
And that was really influential. The other things too is just really getting back into community and building relationships, not only with local coaches, but some of the local players too. And having those relationships will introduce me to other kids, who's introduced me to other teams. And so those are some of the big key takeaways and some of the stuff that really helped get going in the very early stage, like the Coach Grady's and some of these other people, having the relationship with them who can introduce me to other kids or bring other kids in the door. That was like the grassroots of it.
I like that because you have to. I know in life sometimes we may get a little bit complacent, but the networking part of it, of getting out into the areas that we live in, communities that we live in, and developing relationships, that's a vital part of any business, I believe. Moving forward from there, what hardships did you face, if any? I'm sure you did, as owning your own, having to go in and all this equipment, getting started with that. What hardships did you face? I know financially you had to have, it had to be a little bit tough, going out on a limb, and you probably had some days where you thought, oh man, you might have been a little cautious or nervous.
Sure, especially starting off as a business for us, we didn't have a large bank account to start off with that we could just every month be in the negative. We had to start making money early on because we were forced to. It's what we had to do, but it also taught us to be scrappy and to just really grind it out early on and use what we had, use the tools that we had, use whatever resources we had, and be very efficient at it, and find ways, just thinking outside the box, and to be creative. I think other things too early on is, you're learning how to balance between being a business owner, having a family, having kids, having a wife, doing those things too. I think those are early challenges especially being a business owner. And then coming from, a degree in exercise science, you're not in business school. You're not getting a degree in business or economics or finance. You're not doing that. You're there to learn about business or you're there to learn about exercise science. And so to be a business owner, I had to go on my own, or Biko and I had to go on our own to learn the business side of things. And eventually down the line, Corey came in as a business owner, which, his own expertise and his own knowledge. But we had to, on our own, learn those things. So I think that was a big obstacle too, is not only learning the exercise part of it, but learning the business side of it too, which it's not USF Exercise Science Program's fault. That's not their business. They're not in there to teach you business. Right. They're there to teach you the exercise and the science and the health and all those types of things.
It's a great answer, because I find that myself in my own business is what the challenges that I face, and the degree that I have with human services and rehabilitation studies and peer support specialist, also a peer recovery coach. I know that that's not the business side of it, trying to figure out what's the best path forward. That can be very challenging, and also very frustrating and very rewarding as well. What specific areas do you look for when you're hiring employees? Is there a spot or a specific guideline when you started hiring employees to help you?
For us, Mike, it's always been about the culture. And that's an easy answer. That's an easy word people throw around. But for us, it's about having these coaches that understand what we're trying to get out of the athlete or the community or the people that are in our gym, right? We're trying to not only just do fitness, but we're trying to have a healthy environment, positive environment, physically, mentally, emotionally, all those things. And kind of our formula has been a lot of our trainers start off as high school athletes. Some of them are even middle school. Start off as a young athlete training with us. Usually, some of them have gone off to play their college sport and realized, man, I really like being around training. I really like fitness. I really like what I was doing at Impact Fitness. So they end up going and getting their degree in exercise science, and they've come back either as an intern or as a part-time trainer, kind of worked their way up to part-time, full-time trainer, and even one of the coaches being our head coach. So it's kind of been our formula has been starting off saying, hey, I like working out. I like getting better for my sport. Ooh, I would like to do this and offer it back to the next generation of kids. And now have created, a lifestyle around that.
I like that part of seeing these same people in there day in, day out, grinding it out and staying on days that I don't even feel like being there. We all have those days. What has been your, not in just building a family, but what strengths have you used? I'm kind of going there with maybe, some of the things you do in the community with the clients that you have in order to keep us like a close-knit tight.
Sure. So I think what you're getting at, Mike, is kind of doing our community rucks and that. So kind of how we got there, how I got there on the ideas of this is a couple of years ago, I went out to this training facility in Texas, in Dallas, Texas, and they had this Friday Night Lights event once a month. And it's just a way to get the community to kind of recognize and see what is going on at this gym, and kind of to draw support for what all they have going on, and to people in the gym to be around each other. So I want to do something like that at our gym, and we did start off at like a Friday Night Lights where we have like a free workout once a month on a Friday night. People bring their friends and family, and everyone kind of work out together. And it kind of moved towards it making it something unique to us, is that we would do like once a month, we'd have some type of community ruck. And what is a ruck? Ruck is simply just walking with some type of weighted backpack. It has its, roots in military culture, but it just has a long history of people just walking with some type of weight. Humans were moved to walk and to carry weight. And so anyone can do it, from my kids to older adults that are in 60s, 70s, 80s that have gone with us on events, and guys like yourself in wheelchairs, Mike, they can take the sidewalks and be right there with us. So now we have something that anyone can do. There's no limitations on who can or can't be out there. And if some people are healthier, they can carry more weight. If they're not as able to carry as much weight, okay, you carry less, and you just walk with some water. And so we've done these events. So one, we get something to do that's healthy. Two, we get people around each other that may not work out. Like if you work out every day at 11 a.m., you may not see the 6 a.m. crew, or you may not see the people who are at 3:30 in the afternoon, 4:30 in the afternoon. Now you're at this one event where now people can mingle and meet each other. Oh, have you met Mike? Boom. Or have you met one of our baseball players, Aiden? Now you get around these other people, and now we grow a deeper community, a deeper bond with the people at the gym. So that's been a big success for us over this past year or 2 years that we've been doing these community rucks. Is just for people to be around each other, do something that's healthy, do something that's fun and a community based.
I know I've enjoyed it, and we get a lot of kicks along the way when we roll up. Very first one I went on, I believe, was the 12-mile ruck.
In Dunedin.
And Dunedin, right around the Fred Howard Park. And that was a 12-mile, and I'm like, we started out, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty, I'm in a chair, I'm going or whatever, and thank God it was in May, but it was a cool morning, so we didn't have all that heat to start blasting us right off. But I found for myself, it was a lot of fulfillment in the fact that I'm around other people, we're walking, no one's trying to outdo the other one necessarily, they're going at their own pace. And for me, being my first ruck since back in my military days, psychologically it was a little bit harder. It was harder for me than physically, to be honest, because it took me back to a place where I'd not really, there was a little bit of denial on my part, I guess, as to say, this is just different, but it took me out of my comfort zone, which was something good, I felt, because I believe everyone needs to be pushed and get out of their comfort zone a little bit, just to challenge and find something new. It may not always work for the same way for each individual, but it does something that psychologically, physically, and emotionally carries you forward. How did you stumble on working with challenged athletes or the wounded warrior athletes? That I know when I moved here, I started going to being at the VA hospital, and I heard through word of mouth at the VA hospital someone that my brother had introduced me to because he was stationed over at McDeal, and I heard about Impact Fitness, and whether it was in the line of duty or whatever the injury may have been. But how did you stumble your way into that in the early years?
Like, I love to tell that story. So let's see, 7 years ago, a close friend of mine from high school, he had gone and served in the military, got back, and just a way to give back, he would volunteer regularly for the Wounded Warrior Project. Whatever they had going on, he'd find ways to volunteer. And he had messaged me, he's like, Denny, I have to get you on the list as a provider for a fitness location for wounded warriors. Would you be interested? He's like, there's nothing like it in Tampa. We're having a hard time finding facilities that would be open to welcoming wounded warriors for fitness, for working out. Do you think you'd be interested? Do you think you can handle it? I said, absolutely. So he, helped me get connected with the Wounded Warrior Project. He helped me, get our name on the list and, number, location, different things like that. A couple of weeks go by. I don't hear much about it. Don't get much. And then out of nowhere, this gentleman, Seth, reached out to me. He said, hey, I've been trying to find a facility up here in North Tampa that would give me a place to work out at. He's like, you were the last name on the list. You were the last page of the list. Like, this is it. And just by happenstance, he reached out to us, and we started with Seth training. And then he invited one of his friends, which invited someone else. Like, it was a trickle down to where we end up having, there was 4 guys in wheelchairs, and we started training for the Skyway 10K. And which was, the 10K race up and over the Skyway Bridge. And this would be the first year ever they allowed hand cycles in as a division. So they don't even know if people in a hand cycle can even get up the grade of the Skyway Bridge. Yeah. If anyone who's from the greater Tampa Bay area would know that. And so we trained for it. We were lifting, we were doing conditioning, we were on the hand cycles. And that's how you first got introduced to us, because you knew one of those guys training for it. And we just got to you too late. We couldn't get you in the race. But from that point on, you hopped in the group and started working out with us. And it really grew from there. Tampa being, the VA hospital, John Haley VA hospital here in Tampa that you mentioned, being the number one spinal cord headquarters nationally. A lot of people, a lot of guys that are in wheelchairs, adaptive athletes, end up down here for that services. So we're another gym that offers training, but not really the rehab that you would think about. More kind of what we've been talking about, a family-friendly atmosphere that you're being pushed. The music is jumping. People are pushing you to, out of your comfort zone. Those types of things that make you feel like everybody else. And that's really what it started attracting people early on, and we've grown that since then.
I will have to say a big thank you on behalf of you and Impact Fitness. You've really, I know just in talking to the guys outside of the gym atmosphere, whatever, we all rave about the relationships that we've been able to build at Impact Fitness, not with just trainers, but also with other clients. Most of us are in wheelchairs. There's 2 or 3 that are amputees. Nick's one of them. Nick's somebody that's kind of special in a way that he's, as a hockey player, challenge hockey player, playing on the USA team. I want to bring him. I want to ask you a little bit, maybe a little bit about him without going too deep or too personal, but also about other athletes, whether you want to name them or not, but that you have seen train and go on to have a career in professional athletes.
Nick is a great story about just one of our athletes and about one of our coaches, really. So Nick his mom reached out to us a couple years ago when he was in high school that he had this dream of being on Team USA sled hockey. And he's been playing sled hockey, but he need, to get a little faster, a little bit stronger. He had some, places to grow, some space to grow into making the national team. So he came in and really started training with us and got stronger. Just one of the hardest working kids in the weight room that there is. And throughout the course of the last, 4-ish years that he's been with us, not only has he made the team of Team USA, he's traveled the world now as a recent high school graduate. Yeah. And then not only that, he's become a trainer for us, which is just incredible. So not only he has a career path in two different places, like he can play, playing hockey for Team USA, and now he's a trainer. He's got a passion for working out, got a passion for helping people. And it's awesome to see it, awesome to grow. That's a big part of not why I started Impact is not only to help people out for their fitness, but also to give back to the community. And what better way is it than to offer jobs and offer kids up and coming doing these things?
I know there's some other athletes, baseball players. I know Aiden Miller that just got drafted, number 27th by the Phillies. He's been in there. Logan, who's now a trainer, played for USF for a couple of years before he decided that he wanted to give that up and focus on his studies. But I know Aiden's brother I believe, is playing in the minor leagues. Last year, a year before, there were 2 or 3 pitchers that were playing for the Indians that were in. I don't even know how they heard about you all.
Mike, it's the greater Tampa Bay area.
Yeah.
That is, times between top 3 to top 5 cities in America for high school football. Baseball, I'm sure I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but baseball's right there for high school athletes that have gone on to be professional. And so we happen to be in a city that's very populated with very good athletes. You can train here year round for most of these sports. That's always good. For girls, it's a lot of, softball, volleyball, softball, volleyball, soccer. Those are kind of the big sports for females. And we were early on, our roots were in football first and then baseball second. A lot of football, it's kind of seasonal. Some things over the years come and go. 1 year we were training 8 NFL players in the off season, 7 of which we had been training them since high school. So not only one are these kids in the area, but we've had the relationship with them for over these years that we've started to get to know them in high school, kept that relationship, kept training them over the years to where they're now, playing professionally. Baseball, similar. There's probably 6 guys that I could tell you about now that are between the majors and minors, but we've known these guys since high school. Sorry to be them. They're looking to say, hey, I'm a good athlete. I want to get better. And so they wanted to work on that, started off early and continue to develop those relationships, even when they're not in town. Maybe they're at college, if they need help with something. And then, hey, come on in. We're happy to help you. Happy to give you an extra stretch. Happy to give you an extra workout during Christmas break or Thanksgiving break. And so doing these things helps us, separates us sometimes from other facilities that may forget about these kids. You talk about the Miller family, how you have 2 boys that are both professional athletes now, and they haven't let that go. They still work just as hard now as they did back when they were in high school, and that shows you that what their upbringing is and how hard they want to work and how far they want to go and do these things. It's not uncommon. I think sometimes these professional athletes get a bad rap that they kind of make it there off of talent, but a lot of them not only do they have talent, but they have work ethic too. And that's most of the kids that have come in our doors, and we encourage it. We push it. We make things really hard. We want it to be hard for us. You got to overcome, you got to have these challenges. You got to grow through that. I think that's a big part of our secret sauce.
Yeah. I see that day in, day out with relationships and how we joke around and we kid around. Even you guys with some of the trainers, every day you all hit it hard in the mornings. We'll have certain 50 rep Friday. We have all these different things to try to just challenge us, not only mentally, but physically, emotionally, and psychologically. But one thing I want to touch on before I get into the part of just maybe some fun questions along the way is where can individuals go to look up? I know you probably have a website.
Yeah, the best landing page to go to is mpa.com. And then
Okay.
from there, everything else kicks out off of that. That's the best place to go. And 9 months out of the year, all our training is based off like middle school, high school athletes. But what you got to is our summer camp. So during the summer, we open up to elementary age kids, and that's really our summer camp. We try to push off the middle school, high school kids to our regular sports performance classes that still have morning and afternoon offerings. But we have our summer camp usually every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 10. And that's really good for the elementary school age where we can slow down, take our time, and just do a lot of teaching and go over all the basics of how to work out correctly, how to run correctly, what does eating healthy look like, and what does rest and recovery, what are all those things that we all should be doing, whether we're an athlete or not. Because
Yeah.
all this stuff, it works for the rest of your life. If you learn how to squat, no matter if you're an athlete at 10 years old, you're going to learn how to squat now for the rest of your life. You learn how to lunge correctly or do a push-up, you can use these tools for the rest of your life. So yes, it's great at performance and fitness early on, but we're also teaching these things that for these kids to take with them the rest of their life. That's a big part of it too.
Changing gears a little bit, let's talk about you as the head trainer and the owner. You got on the board and you are challenging each other. So whatever, each day is a different day, whether you're squatting, whether you're lifting, whatever it may be, or you're doing a rock here or there, you're doing, so tell me a little bit about that, how y'all challenge each other, push each other, make fun of each other.
Part of challenging each other and holding each other accountable is setting goals, and then also setting out performance charts. So, hey, here's what I did last time I did this workout, or here's what the best trainer did last time we did this workout. So we're all trying to compete. We're all trying to get better at that cardio. Whatever the score was, 200 points on that cardio last time we did it. Hey, I got 202 this time. Or maybe we're next to each other on the workout. We're all trying to race at the same time. And that just gets the best out of each other and gets the best out of yourself when you're pushing yourself next to each other. And usually they say, the best workout mentally is you taking yourself through, but the best workout physically is someone else taking you through it, because they know what you can and can't do. They're going to push you for it. So that's part of it. Is just, yes, we're going to hold the clients accountable. We also want to hold ourselves accountable. We ask clients to be coached. Well, we're also being coached as well as coaches, as the other guys around us. And yeah, we have some fun. We talk a little trash, but that's just part of it. That's just part of us getting each other up and going, and bringing some fun to the atmosphere, bringing some fun to what we got going on. Like this month, we have, we're all competing on squats. Yeah, we all have our own personal goals, but there's always also a little chip and a little trash talk going on.
I like that part. Also like the part of the challenging each other and the trash talking that we do here and there. But it also helps motivate me, or I come in there on a day and wink at me. Come on, Wilson, you better give me what you're here. You better give me all you have. I like to even go by if I'm seeing somebody and I just start saying, come on, Claire, or come on, Alex, or come on, Sam, whoever it happens to be. Come on, you got this, you got this, you got this. And they're not each and every one feel comfortable to do that. There's some of us that feel
Sure.
a little more comfortable just getting to know them, and I enjoy that. So I like to introduce myself, and so they get used to me being in a chair, being around someone with a disability. That hey, I may be injured, but I'm in here busting my ass each and every day, each day that I can be in here. And as a motivational technique for me, I grew up being around sports. I had coaches that pushed me, whether it's baseball, basketball was my main thing. I know when I show up, why did I show up if I'm not going to give everything? And I know not everyone's like that. I like the way that you're teaching these kids moving forward, because we were taught to, if there's no one else around to motivate you, who's going to motivate you? Who's going to hold yourself accountable? And I try to, when I'm doing it, I'm trash talking myself, thinking back about my younger days and knowing that who am I competing against? I'm not competing against other people. For me, I'm competing against myself. I want to live to see 80 by God's grace. A lot of my friends in rehab, uh, whether in Charleston or Atlanta, Georgia, all of them are gone now. They've all passed away. So I appreciate the fact that you guys at Impact Fitness take it upon yourself to teach these kids and others. I know that you've went on a few trips and you've taken some of the staff. What's that been like? I know you had one where you went to Fort Bragg. I know that was something special.
Yeah. So it was in a book or podcast I had listened to a couple years ago. There's this Japanese idea called misogi, misogi. And that is, you set a goal and you set something physically challenging enough once a year, in essence, that you only have a 50% chance of finishing. And so for me, the last 2 years, 2 years ago, I attempted to do a 50-mile ruck in New York City. And last year, I did this Go Ruck event. It was a 48-hour event. So there's 3 different events over the course of 48 hours. There's a 24-hour event, there's a 12-hour event, there's a 6-hour event with a couple hour breaks in between. And this is on base at Fort Bragg, the headquarters of the Green Berets. And it was Green Berets running the challenge. 50% chance of success, right? I think we started with like 90 some people. I think maybe only 70 people actually finished. And it's up to their idea about what they want to do, whether we're doing push-ups, burpees, hiking in the woods, carrying logs, whatever they seem fit. You just got to hang in there and you got to listen and learn. And hopefully you have enough food with you and water and but very military style, right? So we had that. And when I do these things, it's open invite. People want to go with me, let's do it. And we get together, we got a training program, hold each other accountable. And so over that, a lot of, not only myself, but whether it be my friends or the guys at the gym, the trainers, they seem to like the same things I like. So I'm lucky enough that they do that. So I have some people to do these events with. And that has offered growth to them as well, because there's a physical component to it, but there's also a leadership, learning how to lead in a group, and when we're going through these events, there's a lot of opportunities to listen and learn if your ears and eyes are open for it. And so a lot of our trainers that we've done a lot of these events, not only are you learning physically what you're capable of, you're also learning how to push and help the group and have a team aspect to it. So that's what helps us too at the gym, is not only we're signing up ourselves or holding ourselves accountable, and also puts you in the shoes of some of the people that you train. You may have a lady who just signed up for a 5K or 10K race, or you may have a couple guys in a wheelchair sign up for the 10K Skyway race. So you're putting yourselves in their shoes and saying, okay, what does it feel like to sign up for a race? How does that feel psychologically? How does it feel to know you may or may not finish? You're putting your feet in their shoes, and that way you know the feelings that they're getting. So now you can have some empathy and you can relate to them. What does it feel like to have a training program and to be held accountable to it, and to show up every day and to have goals and to develop those things? So I think all that kind of works together.
I wrote a book titled Return from the Edge, and my very first speaking engagement was at Impact Fitness on one of those Friday night lights. It was an awe-inspiring moment for me that I first got my book, this first book that I've been wanting to do for 15 years. And now it's finally come to completion, and I'm speaking in front of you guys. The 5 key steps to recovery: hope, educate, personal responsibility, advocacy, and teaching. You kind of touched on all of those subjects there when you were saying that. It's about educating yourself so you can become aware of, those around you in your community and how you can be of impact to them. What were your thoughts of the book? How did it maybe impact or make you think in light of being able to work with other wounded warriors or other challenged athletes?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, as a staff, Corey and I, as business owners, him and I both love to read, but we wanted the staff to take out of reading as much as we are. So we kind of started a book club of just us as the Impact staff. And at our staff meetings, we review the books that we're reading. So your book was one of those books. And for myself, I like to read about people's stories about where they've come from, how far they've come, where they're at now, how they've overcome obstacles. So it shows what the human body is capable of overcoming, what the mind is capable of overcoming. So that was just a great part about your book, is saying, hey, here's a story of someone who went through this tragic accident, who had all the dreams, inspirations of the world, had a tragic accident, and didn't let that stop him. And how you've overcome that, and how you've had a life of meaning since that point. And I think that those are the big key takeaways for me, is that your story is still being written. You're writing a chapter right now. That book didn't end just because of an accident, and you've kept writing that story.
Now that your family's starting to grow, you've got 2 children, 2 beautiful children, your wife that works as well. Can you tell me a little bit about the dynamics
Sure.
of that?
So sure, Mike, so many people talk about work-life balance. I don't think it's so much of a balance. I think it's an ebb and flow. There's times when it's out of balance, times that it's in balance, it's back and forth. But what I've taken a couple years ago, Tony Robbins said this, and I've always attached to it, and I've kept it. It's more like work-life integration. So how
Right.
can you integrate them together, right? So I'm lucky enough that I can bring my kids to my job, and they can work out with me at the gym. Or if my kids do jujitsu, they're at jujitsu, I can do jujitsu while I'm already there. Or we can do stuff together as a family that still gets everyone. So I like to ruck.
Yeah.
My kids either go on the ruck with me, whether they're walking or on their bike or whatever it is, or as a family, we like to do all the things together. So that is finding ways to mix all together, not one person doing their own thing, other person somewhere else, and everyone's kind of off and doing their own thing. So I'm lucky in the fact that I'm in an industry and in my career path that I can, integrate it all. But that's just something I think about often, is how can we work it all together? How do we make the time to get this all done at the same time? It's just something I think about.
Okay. I know it's kind of like ebony and ivory, ebony and so.
Man, Mike, I'm too young for that one, man.
Yeah, you are. I'm an old school, but I just want to thank you for being here today. You've been an inspiration to me. The guys at Impact Fitness have been an inspiration, even the clients. I want to thank you for being here, taking part today in this. I know Amber, if she could be here, and when she sees this, she's probably your biggest critic of all, or can get away with it.
It's all good. I appreciate. She's my greatest teacher, so I'm always learning from her. It's all good.
Anyhow, well, we'll wrap this up today. Thank you again. Thanks, Maddox, for being here. And he's off in his own little world. But anyhow, thanks. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, Mike. I appreciate having me in here. Hopefully I get invited back.